What's going on, everybody? GemMint here, and I hope everybody had a happy Thanksgiving. Everybody's full from the turkey. I'm super tired, man. We had the Whatnot auction on Wednesday. We had the comic book auction on YouTube on Friday, and now we're here at the end of the week talking about the top 10 comics of the week. So you know I had to bring on Rockin Robbie Billups.
Yo, what's up? I just want to second that. Hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving. Now we're in the holiday season officially, but I'm super happy to be here talking with my homie about comic books.
That's right, man. And again, shout out to Nick Barucci and Dynamite Entertainment. He's been such a big supporter of me, of Robbie, of a lot of content creators on here. I'm sure you guys in the chat, in the comments even noticed as well. So make sure you do him a solid. Go swing on over to Dynamite on YouTube. Subscribe to their channel. Hit the notification bell there. It's the home of the boys of Army of Darkness, Red Sonja, Vampirella, Deja Thoris, and more. And while you're at it, hit that like button here and make sure you're subscribed to the channel with notification bells on as well. Robbie, let's kick it off with our picks of the week.
So let it be written, so let it be done. To me, the weakest book this week was Joy Operations #1. This is from Dark Horse Comics. This is the brand new Brian Michael Bendis book, and I was really hoping that pull him out of the big two. He's taken his Jinx World creator-owned stuff over to Dark Horse. I was really hoping that this would reignite some of that passion. I love Bendis' indie work from the 90s. We're talking Jinx, Goldfish, Powers, and then even into Ultimate Spider-Man and Daredevil, a really great run that's really soured lately. Did this refocus his talent? No. I couldn't understand this book. It made no sense. It started making a little bit more sense at the end, but overall, it was really whack.
Well, I'm glad that I missed that one. That one was not even on my radar. I didn't read it. My pick of the week, I'm going with the Hawkeye Kate Bishop, and I know you liked it. It wasn't for me, man. I didn't like the art style, the dialogue. It felt cringy. It felt like it wasn't for me. The story was kind of boring. Didn't care about it. I hate the whole nonchalant fighting bad guys while you're on the phone. Like, it's not strenuous to fight these people. Like, you're not even a superhero. You're just an archer. Like, get over it.
Yeah, I'm not saying it was the greatest Kate Bishop book I ever read. I did not like it near as much as I liked the Kelly Thompson, Leo Romero stuff. But I really like that character. I'm excited for her showing up at the MCU in that Hawkeye series. That seems pretty cool. So, yeah, the book wasn't the greatest, but I still enjoyed it a little bit. Talking about the other books I enjoyed, though, the top 10. My number 10 is Sweet Paprika, issue number 5. This is from Mirka Andolfo, and I wouldn't say that this is a book that I would read on, like, averagely, like, just not something I typically would get into, but I love this book. It's sexy and it's raunchy, but it's also got a certain charm about it, right? Paprika is this demon. Everybody in this world they're either demons or angels. Why? Why not? Because it's cute, I guess. But she's like part of this publishing firm. She's a bigwig there, and she's super sexually repressed, right? So she's been like not indulging her pleasures, right? And trying to be this, like, you know, straight up CEO, like, go get it, get things done, that kind of a woman. But now she's found out that her father, who kind of raised her to be this way, is pretty much a hypocrite because he just got a heart attack while sniffing coke while being part of an orgy. Right? So she's like thrown out of whack. Now she's trying to figure out what it's like to indulge in these fantasies, in these desires. And so she finds this male guy and she's just like, yo, teach me how to basically. The book is funny, it's cute, and it's got a lot of charm to it.
You know, I'm not reading that one, but I can't help but think about the seasoning that I use on my chicken breast. Anyway, my number 10, I went with Time Before Time. We're on issue 7, and I'm glad that I stuck through this one. Love the first issue. It started kind of feeling a little convoluted, a little hard to follow, but I stuck with it. In issue number 7, I feel like it's coming together. I feel like it's getting a little bit more easy to follow. It's still jumping through times with pods that are traveling through time. Now we have a more advanced pod that can actually bring robotic technology with them. They have this little robot, kind of a comic relief, but it works. These characters that are trying to get away from the syndicate and the union and just trying to save their family. Big hook at the end. I mean, since it's a spoiler show, the woman finally gets back to her hometown, reconciles with a neighbor who's now old. She was a little kid the last time she saw her. And then the neighbor asks her, hey, where's your mother and your sisters or whatever? And she's like, boom, it hits her like a ton of bricks because that's what she's there for, to find her family, and they're not there. So kind of like a little cliffhanger. I'm digging it. I like it. It's fun. The dialogue is smooth. The art style is good and easy to follow. So yeah, I'm glad I stuck with it. Number 10 on the list. Time Before Time.
You know, I dropped out on that one, but the way you describe it makes me think I need to hop back in at some point. My number 9, I'm going Gunslinger Spawn, issue number 2, baby. I loved this comic book. First of all, I want to talk about the Brett Booth artwork. Any artist who I think is just kind of okay, I like Brett Booth. He's a really solid artist, but I've never really been that big of a fan. But any one of these dudes that go over there to a Spawn book, there is something about the magic of Todd McFarlane that brings out the best. This is some of the best, most dynamic Brett Booth artwork I've ever seen. I love the character of Gunslinger Spawn. All this Spawnverse stuff going on, he's definitely the most engaging, the most intriguing. And I love the bit at the end of this book where he gets amazed that there's a toilet. And my favorite line in a comic book this week, you mean your government collects your shit? Like, imagine how wild that is as an idea. Our government collects everybody's poop. What did they do with it? I want to know. Anyway, Gunslinger Spawn, super cool. Cardstock cover, $2.99. Can't go wrong with that.
Yeah, I'm loving Gunslinger Spawn too. You know, when I think about it, he's like the most relatable Spawn because Al Simmons is almost ascended to like godlike status. He's OP, really. And Gunslinger Spawn, he's not the strongest. He gets his ass beat, and he's like learning this new world. It's funny, like the toilet stuff. Yeah. Why are we keeping this stuff inside the house? Anyway, I'll talk about it a little bit more. It's higher on my list. My number 9, I went with Detective Comics 1045. I mean, every issue is solid. It keeps me engaged. The artwork is great. I like the story. Wrapping up the Fear State. It should have come out last week, but whatever. It's out. The Vile story tying in, which is only happening in Detective. So even though it was a Fear State tie-in, this was heavily a Vile story with him leaving these larvae that hatched under the sewers and they're overflowing. And he saves Mayor Nakado, not going to be mayor anymore, tasing him and getting the insects off him, and then doing that on a larger scale, working with Nightwing, stealing a magistrate UFO or whatever. It was fun. It flows. It's a great read. I definitely am digging Detective, and I'm excited to see where they go with this next arc.
Yeah, a lot of the timing on this Batman Fear State conclusions has been kind of off. Detective Comics did a really solid job, though, of maintaining their own story as well as kind of tying in the forced Fear State stuff, right? For my number 8, I'm going Thor, number 19. Thor is back where it belongs. I think it's a solid book this week. I think it was the best Donny Cates book this week, to be honest with you, and I really like the return to this. And I think a big deal about that is the return of Nick Klein on the artwork. The artwork has this gravitas. It's got like a lot of weight behind it. And now Thor's not acting so obnoxious. This starts the God of Hammers arc where Mjolnir has disappeared, right? And now he's trying to find it. But I almost said Heimdall, but Sif, who's now kind of the new Heimdall, she can't see where it's gone. We get a little bit more backstory about the making of Mjolnir and how it's its own entity, but there's this God of Hammers kind of thing. The one thing, though, we still get bits repeated. Once again, where's Odin? Let's go find him. Yo, didn't y'all just do that? You just talked to Odin. Anyway, aside from that, I think Donny Cates is getting this book back on track. Big, epic in scope, and Thor's starting to act a bit more in character for me.
And what about how when Thor checks Sif, like the manager or the supervisor, like,
must I relieve you of your sword?
like he checked her. It was crazy. This book is way higher on my list. I'll hold off until I get there. Moving on to my number 8, X-Force Kill Shot, y'all. Rob Liefeld goodness. You either love Rob Liefeld or you hate him. There's really rarely any in between. I love him. It's my childhood. That's what I think about when I think about 90s mutant stuff. It's like Jim Lee and Rob Liefeld. This is a great one-shot, and it does something that I'm a fan of, bringing in every single version, not every single, but bringing in all these versions of these characters that we might have been introduced into with Funko Pops, like blue and yellow Deadpool and X-Force Deadpool, regular Deadpool, Venom Pool, and all these different versions of Domino and Shatterstar. It was cool, man. It's the trope. It's Cable versus Strife, the big epic finale. Strife ready to wipe out the Earth. But I thought it was fun. It was just what you need for an X-Force one-shot. And this is like real X-Force, man. This is like 90s, like I said, 90s era Liefeld X-Force, leaving it open to continue in this world. I would like to see it. I had fun with it.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun with this book, too. A 30th anniversary celebration of his X-Force #1, 30 years ago. Man, I feel old, because I remember when that came out, everybody was hype on Rob Liefeld. I thought this book had a lot of energy to it. The one thing I will say is that Rob Liefeld is a much better artist than people give him credit for, but I think that he's not as good of an inker as he thinks he is, right? And I would love to see other people start inking his work because I think it adds a little bit more solidness to his figures and a little bit more dimension. Anyway, I thought the book was super cool. I had a lot of fun with it. My number 7, I'm going Robin. Number 8, Joshua Williamson's been killing it on this book. I am loving it. A very simple idea. Damian Wayne, is on an island, and there's this tournament to the death. It's like Damian in Mortal Kombat, but it's the Lazarus Pit. They're going into the background of this new character, explaining who she is, and in this issue, you got that final battle, the final fight between Connor Hawke, awesome character, and Damian Wayne. And this book is super kinetic, man. There's hardly any lick of dialogue in most of this book. It's just this really quick-paced fight, but there's a lot of artwork to linger on. It's exceptionally well-paced, and they're really getting into the character of Damian Wayne. And Williamson's doing more with that character than anybody since the Tomasi and the Morrison days. Usually Damian Wayne's very one-note, but he's very well-rounded, and the story's super intriguing. Not just the fight stuff, but all the intrigue behind it. Who is this mother? How is she connected to Ra's al Ghul? I'm loving this book, and it did not let me down.
Yeah, this was a great issue. It really could have ended up on my top 10. The fight scenes were so epic and like kinetically charged. I think that's like a Robbie term. But it was just so fresh and it flew through the pages so easily. Damian Wayne being one note. Yeah, and I think he's consistent with it. I think that's what I like about him. Like, you know what to expect, but he's got heart and he's got honor and he's going to do the right thing. Like at the end of this issue, he's going to risk his last life, his real life. If he dies this time, that's it. So, you know he's going to go balls to the wall and whoop the shit out of Hawk and whoever else as part of the Lazarus Assassins team. My number 7 is Superman 78 issue 4. Really digging this series. I like this issue a lot. Superman kind of gave up pretty quickly here, though. He's in the lost city of Kandor. He's ready to just step into politics because his dad's ready to step down. Like, dude, you just gave up? Jor-El's like, dude, trust me, if there was a way out, I would have been figured it out. But Lex Luthor, he ain't letting go so easily. He's not going to let Brainiac get away with being the one to get rid of Superman. He's going to save Superman. He had a tracker on his cape. Brainiac comes back to say, oh, what, y'all couldn't leave well enough alone? Now yous can't leave. Awesome issue. Looking forward to seeing how they close out this miniseries.
Yeah, I really like this issue of Superman 78 as well. I thought it was super solid. I didn't really like the last issue so much. There's just something about the idea that conveniently Clark's parents are part of the city of Kandor, so he kind of gets to go see them again. I don't know. Last time we saw Jor-El get to meet Clark in real life, we got Jonathan Kent aged up, and that just kind of left a bad taste in my mouth. But this series is pretty cool. I really like it. It's the Superman 3 we should have gotten, and I really do hope they throw a Richard Pryor Easter egg in at the very end of the tale. My number 6 is Deathstroke Inc. number 3, another Joshua Williamson banger from DC Comics. Yo, I'm loving this book. I'm not even the hugest Slade Wilson fan. I always thought he's a little bit overrated. Like, he's supposed to be able to easily take out the Justice League, but he can't do anything against a bunch of sidekicks. Like, a bunch of kids keep beating him over and over. But the character works here. He's trying to go like a little bit good guy. He's joined this organization called Trust. He's partnered up with Black Canary. She's there to actually spy on them. They got the new version of the Toyman there, and it works. Each issue is giving us a self-contained story while having an ongoing overall narrative that I'm absolutely loving. In this one, he gets sent to find the cheetah. And what happens is that the Queen of Fables creates these fantasy worlds sometimes for villains to go hide out when they're on the lam. So Cheetah has created this fantasy world where she's like the evil queen of Narnia or Oz or some shit like that. I had a lot of fun with this book. The Howard Porter artwork is absolutely fantastic. It leaps off the page with a dynamic energy that would make Kirby excited. Let me tell you, man, if you're sleeping on Deathstroke Inc., you need to wake up.
Yeah, I was kind of hard on this book. I gave it one issue. I didn't love it, and I just dropped it and stopped reading it. And I don't know. When you describe it, I'm still not really into it. I don't feel like I'm missing anything. I hate that Trust Corporation they're working for. I don't like Black Canary teaming up with Deathstroke. But hey, glad that you like it. Moving on to my number 6, I went with House of Slaughter, issue 2 by James Tynion IV. Boom Studios. James Tynion showing that he can make you care about anybody in this universe. It doesn't have to be just be Erica Slaughter. It doesn't have to be Jessica Slaughter. You can care about Jace Slaughter, and you can see him being inducted into the House of Slaughter, the roommate that he had to stay with, and that's kind of an awkward relationship that they have going on there. Fast forward to the future, it looks like the roommate's sent to kill him. It looks like Jace may have ran away or escaped or something. But it's interesting. It's dark and gritty and just building upon the lore and the mythos of the House of Slaughter. I thought it was a great issue.
Yeah, I really like this book too. In fact, it's my number 5, House of Slaughter, issue number 2. James Tynion's joined by Tate Bromball here as the writer, so he's doing the actual scripting, but I really like it. It's not losing anything, right? Now, Something is Killing the Children is still the A game, right? But this book, what I really love about it, aside from just embellishing a little bit more on those characters, introducing that new character, that awkward relationship, like it's so bad, like they have some kind of relationship at some point, now he's being sent to kill him. That's an interesting dynamic. It does kind of go back and forth between different time periods, and it doesn't really clearly through the art let us know when exactly we're doing it, so you kind of get taken aback by that. But what I love is this book is set up mostly to build up the backstory of the House of Slaughter, of the Order of St. George, and we're getting all this information, like the fact that we know that they can themselves untether their monster from their stuffed animal. That's definitely going to be something we need to know in future issues if something is killing the children, so they're giving us a little bit of backstory and exposition and world building without having to waste time in the actual main title to do it. I think the book's super solid, and Chris Sheehan's artwork, atmospheric, moody, doing Del Adara proud.
Yeah, the tethering and untethering was a cool little ritual, and you're right, that's going to probably be important for later. Moving on to number 5, I'm talking about Hulk 1 by Donny Cates and Ryan Ottley. So, there's a couple of things I didn't talk about during my non-spoiler reviews, which was how much destruction happened in El Paso. I live in El Paso. You can see destruction if across the street. It's such a small city, so it's like, damn, what did the Hulk do here? And why does Donny Cates have it out for El Paso? I met Donny Cates in El Paso at El Paso Comic-Con. Anyway, I'm saying El Paso a lot. He said it a lot in this book. That was kind of awkward. The art was amazing. Ryan Ottley, I'm a huge fan of ever since the Invincible days. Hulk, I don't really know if I like where the story's going, though. The whole Banner is super evil, and Hulk is trapped, and Banner's using this Avatar Starship version of Hulk. That stuff is kind of weird, but I'm going to just trust in Donny Cates here. I think his writing is fun. It's usually told on a large scale, big, explosive, blockbuster type of storytelling. So I'm going to just ride it out and see where it goes. I'm a little concerned. It feels like a what-if story.
Let me tell you something about Hulk, number 1 by Donny Cates and Ryan Ottley and Frank Martin. First of all, love the artwork. The artwork was big. When Hulk is smashing things, you feel the weight of it, right? You feel the destruction. And y'all, all of a sudden now I want some old El Paso salsa and chips for some reason. I don't even understand why. But let me tell you something, man. Donny Cates' whole thing here about Starship Hulk and that Banner's kind of evil and the Hulk's supposed to save us from Banner and like Banner's in his head driving his psyche. He's like Weapon X'd out. He's got this helmet on. He's got all this gear. Bruh, that is the lamest concept I've ever seen from Donny Cates on a superhero. That's so whack to me. It just doesn't make any sense. It feels ridiculous. But like you said, Donny Cates has done a lot of crazy out there concepts and really made it work. But this first issue, I love the art, but the story-wise, the concept, the conceit behind it all, I'm rather worried about this one myself. For number 4, though, I'm going Echo Lands, issue number 4 from Image Comics, J.H. Williams, the fantastic book. This is one of the books that you got to read. It's a panoramic book. You got to open it up like sideways. It's horizontal, but the way that the book is delivered and packaged is immaculate. It's got literally the best letterer, the best colorist, and the best penciler in the industry pretty much over the last several decades. The artwork is amazing. The coloring is phenomenal. The lettering is super solid. And the writing, which isn't the best, is starting to get a little bit more appealing, a little bit more engaging. I'm getting into the characters, into the flow of the story. But the artwork on this book alone is an achievement in comics that we haven't seen in a very, very long time. This book is innovative, it's experimental, and it can only be read physically. Not that you can't find it digitally, but you shouldn't. This is a book you have to have in your hands. You got to see that wide scope, and it does have that scope, and now the story's starting to a little bit more appropriately acclimate to that wide scale, that epicness of the artwork. I love and adore this book.
Yeah, which is why I didn't read it. In order for me to get my reviews out in a timely manner, I've been reading the early PDFs from Marvel and Image, so it was in the Image PDFs, but I thought, you know what, I'm just going to be looking at this. I'm not really following the story. The art, like you said, is amazing. It's almost like, man, having full-blown posters and paintings of this would be amazing, even though you couldn't because it's literally the length of a comic book. But story-wise, I was just so lost that I decided not to read it. Although, like you said, maybe if I was going to read it physically, that'd be a different story. My number 4 is the Gunslinger Spawn that we were talking about earlier. I love it, man. I love Gunslinger Spawn's Clint Eastwood kind of old man Logan attitude that he has, the way that he fights these angels from hell and ripping off their wings, and then Todd giving us that backstory on how if you rip off one wing, it'll make them insane. You rip off the other, it'll actually kill them. That battle was epic. Gunslinger Spawn with this kid. The kid finds out his father was part of this underground secret, I don't know, gathering place for angels and demons or whatever. But that whole kind of family dynamic, and then like you said, the humorous aspect at the end, although we had a serious bloody battle between Spawn and angels, then making the jokes about the toilets, it just rounded it out. And yeah, Brett Booth, man, it reminds me of 90s McFarlane style. Like, I was really digging it.
Yeah, I'm loving Gunslinger Spawn. All three of those Spawn books are really good right now. I really got a lot of high hopes for The Scorched because Todd McFarlane's just hitting on all cylinders right now, firing it off. Speaking of firing it off, my number 3 is Batman Reptilian number 6. Y'all, I wasn't really into this series for the first couple issues. I thought the artwork is a little bit too dark, not quite clear enough. I thought the story was a little too silly, but over the course of the last several issues, and now here at the finale, this is one of my favorite Batman series of the year. This book is awesome. We're talking spoilers, so this crazy reptilian creature has shown up, super gnarly, and it's actually a spawn of Killer Croc, so Killer Croc might be like hermaphroditic, right? And Batman's like trolling him about it. He's like, hey, are you lactating? Because I need some milk and shit. Like, Batman doesn't care at all. It's absolutely hilarious. Wayland's freaking out. The way it concludes was cool. The artwork in the last couple issues felt like they kind of turned up the brightness on the screen. You know what I'm saying? I can see it more clearly now. And maybe that was the idea, that earlier, when you don't quite know what's going on, it's supposed to be a little bit more muddy, a little bit more dark. And Liam Sharp brightens that up for these last couple issues. It takes that more humorous turn, but at the same time, keeps a dark edge. I love this book. Garth Ennis, Liam Sharp. Liam Sharp, holy cow. I've been reading this dude's work for like 20 plus years. I remember when he did Venom, the Mace, right? That's when I first noticed Liam Sharp. Then going through his stuff, man, his Wonder Woman run with Greg Rucka, the Green Lantern run with Grant Morrison, and he's pumping out the best artwork in his career. He's a veteran in this industry, and he's pumping out a book with the energy of a 20-year-old. This book was totally worth it.
Yeah, man, Liam Sharp. So there's two Liam Sharps. There's the one that does his traditional pens and pencils, and then you have the painted version. I'm a sucker for the painted version. I always liked it, and I like how you explain that. It was more murky in the beginning when the story was unclear. Remember issue 1? We didn't even know what the hell was going on, just that something was killing Batman villains. Issue 6 is the finale, and it's more of an epilogue. The Big Bang was in issue 5, and this is just basically the authorities taking Wayland away. Batman still nonchalant, not really giving a shit about this crazy ordeal that Killer Croc went through. And he's totally badass, and the painted art is just immaculate. It's amazing. I want to see more of Liam Sharp in this painted style in the future. You mentioned that Green Lantern run. I gotta go back and check that out. Moving on to my number 3. We just did. That was my number 3. Man.
My number 2 is going to be Girl Scouts Stone Ghost, issue number 1. This is from Image Comics, Jim Mahfood. This is a continuation of a series that's been around for a while, but in a way different form. Now, I'm a huge fan of Jim Mahfood, his work. If you remember those Clerks comics from the 90s, like the Holiday Special and Clerks, the comic book, that was Jim Mahfood artwork, right? This is a completely different style. Over the last 10, 15 years, he's really gone more eccentric, a little bit more influenced by people like Bill Sienkiewicz, and the story gets a little bit more sci-fi fantasy wildness, right? So the fun kind of indie scene of the original Girl Scout books is now this really refined underground epic fantasy sci-fi type thing, but I loved it. Love the intricate artwork, and Jim Mahfood's been out of the game for a while. There's even a nice little backup story where he kind of explains why he had a friend die from cancer. He was trying to get the Girl Scouts TV show going. Disney was going to do it. They were all on board. He spent years working for it, and then all of a sudden they were like, you know what? We're not going to do it. Holy cow. And during that time is when he was making this book, going through a lot of stuff. Jim Mahfood is a super great, super talented indie underground artist that I've respected since the 90s. I got to meet him in 2002. He was a super cool cat. But Girl Scout Stone Ghost, if you want something different, you want something quirky, you want something out there, and you want something that you can dive into, definitely check it out.
Yeah, I flipped through this one. It wasn't something that really grabbed me. The art style was very pulpy and it felt like indie to me. And I don't know, it just didn't look like it was something I was going to enjoy, so I didn't read it. Moving on to my number 2, Radiant Black 10. Whoa, Kyle Higgins going from not on the list at all to number 2. This is the type of storytelling I like. When you go big and epic and cosmic and meeting your maker and stuff like that. This character who is the new Radiant Black, because remember, they killed off the main character who was Radiant Black in the beginning, and that really hooked both of us. Now he's still in a coma, and this character is on this kind of quest to try to save him. And the whole way they do that, it's so touching, man. Like, Kyle Higgins goes deep, man. This character kind of going through a revelation of him hating himself and wanting to sacrifice himself to save his friend. Really interesting. And the way that this big, like, celestial, for lack of a better term, talks, it's like he says the thing out loud that you're supposed to only think every time it talks. It says like both things at once. It's kind of crazy, but very unique in the storytelling aspect. And then the out there trippy cosmic but 4-color type of style was just great, man.
No, I dropped out of this book because it was just a bit too inconsistent for me, but I hear people that really are applauding it. Really, a lot of people are praising this book, saying that it really course corrects, keeps things exciting, and this newest issue, I really want to check out because it's also like a black light edition of this comic, so like you read it in the black light, those colors pop or something, so definitely something I want to get back into, get caught up on, and I feel like I dropped out of that one maybe a little bit too soon. My number 1, my pick of the week, well, it's a simple story, told in a very complex way. It's Decorum issue number 8. To the surprise of absolutely nobody, this is the final long-awaited issue of Decorum. Issue 7 was in March, issue 6 was in December of last year. We finally get the finale. It's extra sized, and it was very satisfying to me. It brings the story to a natural conclusion. All these different elements. You have the Church of the Singularity. You have this egg that this Assassin's Guild filled with women are trying to protect. You got this new character being trained by one of the best assassins in this guild. She's a woman of impeccable decorum. And it all comes together into this crazy hoot of a finale. I really liked it. Mike Huddleston's artwork, there's nothing like it. It's super experimental, switching styles, not just from page to page, but in this one, from panel to panel. And this is something that's slowly being built up. Over the course of these 8 issues, if you look at it, in the first few issues, every few scenes would switch art styles. Here, it's just back and forth, over and over. It goes from really like light, pen and ink work with very little color to these wonderful painted and rendered and realized like epic space scenes. Wow. The thought put behind this, the world building. And I'm not just joking. It is a simple story. There's an egg. Everybody's after it. This girl gets it. This dude pops up. He's like the celestial messiah. Dude, I love the story. I love the finale. And I also love the biggest surprise out of anything is that it's setting up for a sequel. That's right, it sets up for another series. Now, I really hope they get it done before they solicit it, so I'm really looking forward to reading that in about 5 years.
As I was reading this, I was like, Robbie's going to pick this as his number 1. For me, this is like Echo Lands. It's amazing artwork, told within different styles within one book, but the story is very simple, and you took the words out of my mouth. It's like the egg is the MacGuffin. Okay, we got to get the egg. It's this unlikely mercenary, this girl who ends up being really good at it, who didn't think she was going to be one. So the story's kind of thin. The art is really out there, very abstract, great painted stuff that switches back and forth between black and white and like 3 or 4 styles, man. So he does his thing on there. The story for me was kind of confusing at times because you're telling a small amount of story with this big scope of art. I don't know. I can see why people would like it, though, but it was a little too out there for me, I guess. My number 1, I mean, this is the type of stuff I like. I'm talking about Thor 19 by Donny Cates and Nick Klein. Finally! It used to be where when Thor came out, it was my pick of the week. And for the last few issues, it hasn't been that way. We're back to the big, epic, cosmic storytelling, which is what I love. And yeah, some things are familiar. He's been having Mjolnir issues since issue 1, right? And then the Odin thing, he's always gone. I guess Angela put him away to a Planet Hulk type of place where he was fighting and getting his ass kicked. But anyway, Thor shows up, badass. He's the All-Father. He stops that monster, cuts his hand off, and they're trying to figure out where's Mjolnir and who stole it. Come to find out, somebody used it to murder the dwarfs who created it, which is like, Donny Cates is always pulling some stuff out of Thor lore and bringing it back to the forefront. So I think it's so cool to bring back those dwarves. We kind of see a mini creation of Mjolnir in the beginning of this, creation of planets and cosmos in the beginning too. It was awesome, man. This is the type of stuff that I'm signed up for.
Yeah, I really like the return to that like epic cosmic Kirby-ness, right? And that's what I'm expecting. If you're giving me Thor, you're giving me Donny Cates, you're giving me Nick Klein, I want it to be big and epic, and that's what they're back to delivering.
And speaking of delivering, that's the top 10 comics of the week. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Leave a comment down below, leave a like on this video, make sure you're subscribed to the channel, and hit that bell so you don't miss notifications, and then swing on over to Pop Culture Philosophers and subscribe over there.
Oh yeah, check us out. Comic book reviews, movie reviews, live chats, interviews, all that kind of stuff and more. And remember, I hope everybody has a happy holiday season. Take it easy on your retail workers, and remember, wherever you go, there you are.
Stay minty fresh. Peace.